Today, I am going to talk about urban biodiversity. As you all understand, biodiversity, they are available either in forest agriculture or in the marine landscape. But since urbanization is taking at a very fast pace, the pace where we want to understand the efficacy, the impact of urbanization on plants and animals which are available in the urban areas. Urban areas are a ecosystem which are basically man-made ecosystem. Human being wants to develop this ecosystem as per their need, requirement and likings. But we have some of the components which are natural as well. Throughout the world, what we have observed that the developing countries are now moving very faster pace to convert their rural peri-urban areas into urban area. And a big challenge before us, how the urban biodiversity could be saved, nurtured, and we do the conservation strategy. Urban biodiversity covers plant animal species. They are available in different urban habitat. And here biodiversity covers the variety and variability of plants, animal and other species which are important component of any ecosystem. We have observed the changes are happening in urban areas which bring several different types of opportunities for the economics. But there are problems related to social and also biological aspects. The urban area having built environment, the natural environment, and we have the socio-economic environment. The natural environment which provides opportunity for hundreds of plants and animals to get their habitat proper so that there is good interaction with the human being. But what is happening over the years, the urban areas, we have lots of development due to the building and infrastructure. We are creating beautiful road system, airports and shopping malls. These are taking lots of biodiversity space into the built habitat. So we have several kind of contribution of urban green space. As you see, there are contribution of urban habitat in the social aspect, cultural aspect, ecological aspect, and every city should have some minimum standard of urban green space. These green space allow plants and animals to habit in their locations. If you see the urbanization process in India, to 1901, we had 11% of urban areas in India, and go on increasing. 2001 we had 28%, 2011 35.6%, and in latest 2018, we have around 41% of area covered under urban area. So, the challenge before us, by it is estimated by 2030, almost about 50% area will be covered under the urban in our country. Urban areas, if we allow the industrial growth or economic growth, and simultaneously we take care about our biodiversity, then people who like the kind of landscape where they stay, where they interact, their social, ecological and spiritual aspects getting benefited out of biodiversity. There is a different effect which are positive mostly with human being due to biodiversity. And biodiversity give the solace, the peace and tranquility with the kind of habitat it provides. It reduces the anxiety, it reduces the stress which human being face through the busy life in our day to day in urban areas. In urban areas, the infrastructure and then the urban biodiversities are having a kind of relationship which are classified under ecological, recreational and the natural ecosystem functions, which cover in different kind of habitats. Now, in the urban ecosystem, we have 4 different ecosystem habitat. Like we have built habitat, where most of the roads, buildings, shopping malls. Then we have waste habitat. Waste habitat, the waste we generate, there are certain industrial impacts in urban areas which are brown fields, but we have aquatic habitat as well. They are the best place for biodiversity. It consider river system, it consider wetlands, lakes and reservoirs which are having lots of biodiversity in place within the urban area. And other than that, we have green habitat. Green habitats are mostly the parks, gardens and then the open area where we have biodiversity, and these interaction within the different habitat play important role, and we have to see the built habitat and then the waste habitat, how to manage these two. There are different cities in India. If we compare that, some of the cities are well planned, biodiversity taken very carefully, like the city of Chandigarh, where you have about 49% of the area is under green cover, whereas in Delhi we have about 21% area is covered under green cover. And there are cities like Jaipur and some of the other cities of India, they require more biodiversity and green cover. But the FAO and WHO, they have given the requirement of the city is around 9 square meter per capita tree cover or green cover, and which will allow people to be in those green areas, and other biodiversity element will be happy. Green corridors, green patches and green networks, they are the part of urban biodiversity and landscape. And these green corridors cover your roadside plantation, riverside plantation and railway line side plantation. Suppose the case of Delhi, which is a very green city, but still it require more green space, urban green space, and where we have increased the urban green cover in case of Delhi in last 15 years. Very significant changes has come, almost more than 20% green cover we have observed. And starting from 2011, after the Commonwealth Game, Delhi has improved lot of schemes and implementation plan for urban greening, and we can see the LUTYEN'S Delhi, which is planned long back during the time of Sir Lutyens, the broad roads, the indigenous tree species planted at the time of British time, so they are still very important landmarks for Delhi, and people feel that these areas are covering lot of biodiversity and aesthetically also great. Whenever we are planning biodiversity, we have to understand that what are the kind of steps we follow as a protocol for improving biodiversity. Sociological, so phytosociological study, we require the identification of actual vegetation, available native vegetation, and we can also see the how we can inventorize the existing vegetation and how we improve the vegetation, identification of potential area where we can develop a new type of vegetation which will allow our birds and other animals which can grow, nest, and develop their habitat. So ecological basis for the selection of the species is very important. The kind of species we are selecting, they should be food bearing, shade should be there, it should have minimum allelopathic effect, so that, and carbon storage ability. So these are the and also local community, they get some benefit out of that, like they are herbal components, herbal medicinal usages. Some species are very aesthetically good, some are giving beautiful fragrance, some are giving habitat for the birds and other animals. So by that way, when we are selecting some species for biodiversity enhancement, we have to see the choice of species. That's why important, because of what kind of temperature, what kind of rainfall available, what is the soil condition of that area, these are considered. In our biodiversity, there are different kind of habits of the plant, like trees, shrub, grasses. All these things are important while we are planning for our biodiversity. We are planning in the wetland areas, we are planning in the hillocks, or we are planning in the roadside based on our available species. If you see the different types of urban areas, how we are planned, the new area when it is come under the city planning, we have to develop how biodiversity can improve the area's good kind of species availability, which will show the kind of improvement in the area. And we also see the participation of local people, inhabitant of that area. And what we have observed, that there are different types of flowering plants we can create, yellow flowered species or red flowered species or purple colored species. These provide a very good avenue plantations are created. The urban areas are providing lots of uh, lots of benefit in reference to controlling pollution, PM 2.5 or PM 10. These are very emerging problem in cities, and trees can provide the benefit for carbon sequestration, and the emission of dust and pollution can be controlled through that. And the benefits we get from aesthetically in different infrastructure like flyovers, metro, below the metro, in the roadside, and which are used by the local community for their small business. So it provide livelihoods under tree. And we can also we can see that the different types of hillocks, different type of areas, like you have species which are good in case of maybe roadside, but there are areas which are say hilly areas, there are areas which are industrial areas. We have to select how they should be planted. And in biodiversity, the local people can be involved for creation of urban biodiversity register with the involvement of their people, residents. Their knowledge can be documented, and we can create a biodiversity register, which is the latest development. Under the Biological Diversity Act 2002, this is suggested that to reduce the threats of biodiversity, we can develop a biodiversity register, and we can involve with the municipalities, corporations to bring species which are suitable to the area and giving space in the habitat for development of urban biodiversity. So we need to develop a kind of register which will cover the different types of available species, their season, their benefit, and their management, how they could be planned for future. So biodiversity register is used as a tool for biodiversity documentation and inventarization, and this could be given a different types of characteristics or attribute which are required for any planning. And what we observe that human rights, we have Human Rights Day, we have for the animals also we have Animal Rights Day, but we don't have for trees. And in cities, trees are planted, but it is badly managed. It is sometimes cemented, sometimes the fencings are not properly done. So when we are planting, we have to see how we are managing those trees after plantation. Their survival, their spacing, their selection should be very very important, and we have to see, we have to use our knowledge and consulting the expert who have the knowledge, not like that whatever the stock available you can go for plantation of. And what we see that there are different kind of threats in biodiversity. Those are important to observe, like we have change in the habitat pattern. What we see, that's the impact it is coming. Then climate change, most of the cities, due to emission, carbon emission, due to pollution and vehicle movement, lots of climatic problems are there. Effect is there, temperature is rising. We have the heat island effect in the urban area. This could be reduced if we have a good biodiversity in the area. There are threats for the invasives, some of the invasives like we have prosopis in certain places, lantana, they are invading. So we have to see how to reduce these. Over exploitation of the biodiversity is also important, and then the last is the, as I said, pollution. There are different kind of gas, different dust pollution, even the sound pollution are affected, and then the river pollution, river water pollution. And there are different kind of organization who can give support for biodiversity development. Government organization, NGOs, they can play a very important role as a civil society organization. The eco clubs are taking up. There are hundreds of schools in Delhi and most of the other areas, Mumbai, Calcutta. People are trying to develop a knowledge base and trying to use in their curriculum for biodiversity conservation. And we see now lots of corporates are taking interest under their corporate social responsibility schemes and for managing biodiversity areas through plantation, through conservation area, through biodiversity park. We are trying to develop biodiversity park, and we require to see that people's voice should be heard. Some of the area, sometime we are using our hillocks, we are using our other lands for which are having biodiversity. Sometime road network building, expanding our road, we are sacrificing our biodiversity. That has to be important. But there are several now initiatives are coming up, like several innovations, rooftop garden or terrace garden, hydroponics. Now in the urban areas also, expansion of agriculture is very good trend. Some of the areas they are doing the different types of vegetable species in their roof terrace. Also, this could be a kind of scope for green building to reduce the heat through green building, green walls. We have several now biodiversity park we have created, like in Delhi we have Yamuna Biodiversity Park, Aravalli Biodiversity Park. They are giving lots of benefit for biodiversity improvement, conservation and restoration. And we have some of the examples, like in Jenny Butcher Garden. This was in 1909. This was created in the abandoned mine area. So now this is a very important area people visit in Canada, and which has got a beautiful, excellent the landscape. And so such landscape could be created, which will attract not only birds and animals. This will create a human being, and people can appreciate, people can get benefit out of this place. In conclusion, I like to suggest something, that how biodiversity can be appropriately incorporated in the curriculum of urban biodiversity, in the curriculum of our college student, for the university student. And there are several campuses which are good in biodiversity, so we can improve the institutional campuses. We can, the Indian economy is growing very, very fast, but we have to keep eyes on this environmental component. We should not ignore the environment, and particularly biodiversity available. We have to keep balance, and there is lot of opportunity in our smart city planning, which Government of India planned for 100 cities to develop in our country. So where biodiversity planning is very much important in smart city program. Other than that, we have the governance system. So, governance system, under that several kind of departments, institutions and corporates could be invited for their participation in development of biodiversity. Wildlife is one of the important area, like there are small animals and birds which can be managed properly. Sometimes we observe in the city areas animals are coming. So, these are the things when we disturb their habitat, then they come to our urban areas, like which are observed, and that has to be carefully managed. In our civil society, biodiversity play a very important role that should be incorporated in our cultural lives, and in the form of manual we can develop. There could be several different type of module of biodiversity related aspect, and then the research methods can be developed for how to augment different biodiversity component in different habitats. Thank you very much.